Hello friends, welcome to our channel English Literature Zone. I am Shazia Jamal and here in this video I am going to talk about the Canterbury Tales, which is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. I have already uploaded a video that is about 14th century age and another video that is about Chaucer and his three phases of life. So I will provide link in the description box for both those videos. You can go and check there. It will be very helpful if you are a student of English literature and you are preparing for your examination. Here in this video, I am going to cover the Canterbury Tales and the very first story of the Canterbury Tales, that is the story told by the knight. Now let's start the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories which is written by Geoffrey Chaucer, and this Canterbury Tales includes 29 pilgrims and they all are going to pay pilgrimage to shrine of St. Thomas Becket, and there is a host with them whose name is Harry Bailey. He is suggesting the idea to tell stories by each of the pilgrims who are going to the pilgrimage, and each of the pilgrims has to tell two stories while they are going to the shrine and while they are returning from the shrine. In this way, total each pilgrim has to tell 4 stories altogether. And they all stay at Tabard Inn, that is in Southwark, and they stay there for the preparation of their pilgrimage where they are going. So all these pilgrims gathered at Tabard Inn, that is in the Southwark, for the preparation of their pilgrimage. In this way, they all started their journey in the month of April for their pilgrimage that they were going to shrine of St. Thomas Becket. And initially it is said that Chaucer planned to write 120 stories, but only he could write 24 stories that we are today in the Canterbury Tales. There were 29 pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales, and one was the host. His name was Harry Bailey, and the narrator Chaucer himself. So purely there were 29 pilgrims, including the host and the narrator, it becomes 31. So there were total 31 pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales. Purely there were 29 pilgrims, and it was the plan of Chaucer to write 120 stories, or it is also said that 124 stories, but he could only write 24 stories. Now if we multiply 31 by 4, why by 4? Because each pilgrim has to tell 2 stories while they are on their way to the shrine and 2 stories while they are returning from the shrine. So total each pilgrim has to tell 4 stories. That is why multiply by 4, and there are total 31 pilgrims including the host and the narrator. It becomes 124. So if we exclude the host Harry Bailey, then we get the number 30, and if we multiply 30 by 4, we get 120. And Chaucer has the plan originally to write 124 or 120 stories in the Canterbury Tales. In some of the books, it is also written that he planned to write 128 stories. But we got only 24 stories written in the Canterbury Tales. And there were 23 storytellers. So, how is it possible that there were 23 storytellers and stories were got written, that is 24? Two stories were told by Chaucer himself. That is why there are 24 stories and 23 storytellers. So Chaucer told two stories. He was also with the pilgrims and he was also going to the pilgrimage. He was the observer and the narrator of the Canterbury Tales. Before we would start for the knight's story, we must know some of the characters of the knight's story. Theseus, the king of Athens. He was the king of Athens. This was the character of the knight's story. Emily, who was king's sister-in-law, with whom Palaman and AlQaid fell in love and they fight against each other brutally. And next is Palaman and AlQaid, the central characters of the knight's story. They are the cousins and they are the knights of Thebes. Hippolyta is the queen of Athens and she is wife of the king Theseus, who is the king of Athens. So these are the major characters of the knight's story. Let's know the sources from where Chaucer took the knight's story, which he has written in the Canterbury Tales. He took from Boccaccio's The Tessida, and this work, which is written by Boccaccio, is of 9,896 lines. Tessida is having 9,896 lines, which is a source for Geoffrey Chaucer for his story in the Canterbury Tales, which is told by the knight. And the knight includes 2,250 lines. And this is the longest tale of Canterbury Tale. The knight's story is the longest tale, the longest story in the Canterbury Tales, which is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. The first story of the Canterbury Tales is the Knight. The Knight's story is the first story in the Canterbury Tales, and it is because there was the lottery system, they drew lottery, and so the knight got the first chance to tell the story luckily. He was brave, worthy, and honorable knight. So the brave, worthy, and honorable knight bears the values of chivalry, truth, honor, and justice, and these all values were regarded as the highest values in the social hierarchy. He also fought crusades for the sake of Christianity. And this story, this knight's story, tells about two cousins who fight against each other for a girl. Her name is Emily. So these two cousins are Palaman and AlQaid. They are the cousins and they fight against each other for Emily, who is the sister-in-law of the king Theseus, who is the king of Athens. Both the cousins, Palaman and AlQaid, are imprisoned by Theseus after a battle in which they fell unconscious. Palaman one day saw a girl, Emily, who is the sister-in-law of the king Theseus. Palaman and AlQaid both fell in love, but Palaman saw the girl Emily from the dungeon where they were imprisoned first. While he was looking through the bars, he was excited to see Emily, and in excitement he called AlQaid, his cousin. AlQaid came to know the reason of the excitement, and he also fell in love with the girl. Palaman admitted AlQaid that he loves Emily, but AlQaid started claiming his love for her because he recognized her a mortal rather than a goddess, firstly. So he was the first who has the right to make love with Emily. This brought conflicts between Palaman and AlQaid. Both started fighting against each other. But when they came to know their futility, that they are behind the bar, they realized that it's useless. Pirithous. Pirithous is the friend of Theseus and AlQaid both. Once Pirithous reaches to Athens and he comes to know that AlQaid is behind the bar. He urges for his freedom and Theseus sets him free, but on the condition of his banishment from Athens for his rest of life. Palaman still can see Emily from the dungeon. AlQaid returns to Thebes with the jealous that Palaman still can see Emily. Palaman, on the other hand, fears that AlQaid may return to Athens, attacking Theseus, and he can conquer Emily. One night, when AlQaid was sleeping, he saw a winged messenger to God, his name was Mercury, who urges him to return to Athens. So AlQaid returns to Athens in disguised form and he gets luckily a job of attendant of Emily, where he works in disguised form. He works there disguised as Philostrate. Palaman has already escaped some 7 years ago from dungeon, and he meets AlQaid in the wood where he was singing song and monologue. So hearing the song and monologue, Palaman knew and got the identity that it's AlQaid. And so once again when they both meet, they start conflict. They start fighting brutally, attacking each other like beasts. Theseus, when comes to know their fight, he reaches there and stops them. Getting the threat, Palaman reveals the fact that he is the same Palaman and the person who is fighting against him is none other than AlQaid, and both are fighting against each other for Emily because they love her. When the king comes to know that they are fighting for this reason and they have broken the rules, one has escaped from the prison while other has entered Athens, he at first orders to kill both. But Hippolyta, the queen of Theseus, and Emily start pleading for their life. The king then decides to order Palaman and AlQaid to return to Athens, and after 50 weeks with 100 knights, each to participate in a tournament, it will be decided that who will get Emily's hand. So the result of tournament between both the knights team, Palaman and AlQaid, will decide Emily's hand. So after 50 weeks, tournament is held between both the teams. Each fight against other like the hungriest lion. And in this tournament, in this fight, AlQaid is injured badly. The story of the night ends with the victory of Palaman, resulting the death of AlQaid not in the battlefield, not while they were fighting, but during the treatment. And Palaman wins Emily's hand. So this is the story that is told by the knight in the Canterbury Tales. For both the knights, Palaman and AlQaid, people have much love, respect, and honor for them. The story ends in a very tragic way. So, this is the first story which I have covered here completely In next video I will be uploading next story of the Canterbury Tale, and please keep watching my video if you have watched till now. Thank you so much. Please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Be safe, be aware, do not step outside of the house because it's pandemic everywhere. So be safe.